Japan spends half as much on healthcare as the United States, yet its people outlive every nation on Earth. There are nearly 100,000 centenarians, and Japanese women top the global life expectancy charts. Official explanations point to genetics and advanced medicine, but the real secret hides in a few nearly cost-free daily habits almost unknown in the West. What are these simple rituals that could add a decade to your life? The truth begins with a paradox, one the world has yet to solve. On any map of global longevity, Japan stands out like a bold stroke of ink. Nearly 100,000 people in Japan have reached the age of 100 or more, a concentration so dense that it outpaces every other developed nation. In fact, the odds of meeting a centenarian in Japan are higher than anywhere else on Earth. For every 100,000 Japanese citizens, more than 79 are centenarians, compared to just 25 in the United States and even fewer across much of Europe. This is not a statistical blip. It is a nationwide phenomenon, visible in city neighborhoods and rural villages alike. The scale of this longevity is even more striking among women. Japanese women have led the world in life expectancy for decades, with an average lifespan now reaching 87 years. That is not just a few outliers. This is a sustained national record, year after year. In Okinawa, often called the land of the immortals, women live longer than any other women on the planet. Here, reaching 90 is common, and many remain active and independent well into their late 90s. The numbers reveal more than just long life. They point to quality of life, too. Large-scale studies show that about one-third of Okinawan centenarians remain functionally independent, handling daily tasks without major assistance. Rates of heart attack and stroke are far lower than in North America. Breast and prostate cancer occur at just 1/5 the rate seen in the West. Hip fractures are half as common. Dementia and Alzheimer's disease are less frequent, and arteries tend to stay clear even in advanced age. Japan's centenarian map is not limited to one island or one city. From Hokkaido in the north to Kyushu in the south, the pattern repeats, a dense cluster of people living well past 100, many with sharp minds and steady hands. The World Economic Forum has called this the Japan longevity paradox, a society where people live longer, healthier lives despite spending much less on healthcare than other wealthy countries. The numbers are clear, but the reason for this extraordinary lifespan remains a puzzle. What sets Japan apart is not just how long people live, but how many live so well for so long. Japan's remarkable longevity comes with a surprising price tag, not in yen, but in how little is actually spent. In 2022, Japan's healthcare spending per person reached $5,251 adjusted for purchasing power. The United States, by contrast, spent more than double that amount, over $12,500 per person, according to data from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the World Health Organization. The difference is not a minor gap, it is a chasm. Japan's system covers a larger elderly population, yet the country outperforms the United States in nearly every measure of healthy aging. This is not just a matter of government budgets or insurance models. Japan's total health expenditure sits at 11.5% of gross domestic product, just slightly above the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development average, while the United States commits a staggering 17% of its gross domestic product to healthcare, more than any other nation. Despite this, American life expectancy has stalled, while Japan's continues to climb. The numbers are even more striking when broken down. Japan's out-of-pocket costs remain low, accounting for just 2.4% of household consumption, while Americans face some of the highest personal expenses in the developed world. The question hangs in the air: how can a country spend so much less, yet achieve so much more? The answer does not lie in high-tech hospitals or expensive treatments. Instead, it is rooted in daily life, habits so ordinary and affordable they almost escape notice. No luxury supplements, no boutique fitness studios, no designer diets. The essentials of Japanese longevity cost little or nothing, and they are woven into the fabric of everyday routines. Health experts have combed through the data for decades. The World Economic Forum calls it a paradox. Japan's frugal approach delivers greater returns, with fewer hospital visits, lower rates of chronic disease, and a population that stays active well into old age. Preventive care and simple practices keep people out of the hospital in the first place. The gap between spending and outcome is not just a curiosity. It is a challenge to assumptions about what health really costs. Charts from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development paint the contrast in stark colors. Japan's modest line is steady and low. The United States curve surges ever higher. Yet it is the modest line that leads to more birthdays, more years of independence, and a better quality of life. The numbers demand a closer look at what happens outside the doctor's office. The real story of Japanese longevity is not about spending more. It is about living differently. The next step is to examine those ordinary habits, small daily choices that add up to a decade or more of extra life without breaking the bank. A gardener stands barefoot in the soft earth, hands moving with practiced ease as she gathers leafy greens, daikon, and sweet potatoes from tidy rows. In the kitchen, she rinses the harvest and arranges it on small plates, each portion measured by instinct rather than recipe. Here, the meal is not a race to fullness, instead a quiet phrase, hara hachi bu, guides every bite. It means stopping at 80% full, leaving the table light, never stuffed. This is not a diet, but a habit woven into daily life, passed from elders to children at every meal. The bowl of miso soup is modest, the rice portion small, the vegetables abundant, over 1 kilogram a day by some estimates. Pickled radish adds color, tofu brings protein, and a sprinkle of seaweed ties the meal together. Salt is used sparingly, with Okinawan elders averaging just 1.1 grams of sodium per day, far below Western norms. Each bite is deliberate, eaten slowly, often in the company of family or friends. The meal ends before the feeling of fullness arrives, a practice that may sound simple but carries profound effects. Scientists studying Okinawan centenarians have found that this mindful approach to eating does more than prevent obesity. Caloric intake is naturally lower, about 10 to 15% less than typical Western meals, without any sense of deprivation. Large cohort studies show that men who follow this pattern experience slower epigenetic aging, their biological clocks ticking more gently over the years. The benefits reach beyond the waistline. Rates of dementia and Alzheimer's disease are lower, and cognitive function remains sharper into old age. In communities where hara-hachi bu is the norm, metabolic diseases are rare, arteries stay clear, and independence lasts longer. The science is now catching up to what gardeners and elders have practiced for generations, eating to 80% full, centering meals on vegetables, tofu, and fish, and keeping sodium low. These habits cost nothing extra and take no more time than any other meal. They build resilience in body and mind, protecting against the slow creep of age and disease. The meal ends with gratitude, a sense of enough, and the quiet energy to step back into the garden, ready for whatever the day brings. A man in his 70s steps out into the narrow streets of his Tokyo neighborhood, a reusable shopping bag swinging from his hand. He walks with purpose, weaving through morning traffic and stopping to greet a neighbor, tending potted azaleas. This is not exercise in the Western sense. There is no athletic gear, no fitness tracker, no rush. In Japan, movement is simply a part of living. Most errands are done on foot, from picking up groceries to visiting a friend or dropping off mail. For many Japanese elders, these daily walks replace the need for formal workouts, yet deliver powerful health benefits. Research from the Okinawa Centenarian Study and National Health Surveys shows that Japanese adults who walk as part of their daily routine live longer, healthier lives. Regular walking is linked to lower rates of heart attack and stroke and helps keep blood pressure in check. The act of walking to the store or around the neighborhood is enough to halve the risk of hip fractures compared to North American rates. Bone density stays higher, and falls are less likely to result in serious injury. Gardening, too, is more than a pastime. Across Japan, small vegetable plots fill backyards and community spaces. Elders squat, dig, and carry baskets of produce, movements that challenge balance and build strength. These simple, repetitive actions are now recognized as key predictors of bone health and functional independence in old age. In studies tracking thousands of older adults, those who gardened or walked daily were far less likely to lose mobility or require long-term care. Japan's urban design supports this way of life. Streets are compact, sidewalks are safe, and destinations are close by. Public parks and greenways invite residents outside, while social groups and local events give walking a purpose beyond transportation. The result is a society where movement is woven into the fabric of every day. No gym membership required. For Japanese elders, staying active is not a chore or a prescription. It is simply living, and it pays off with stronger bones, healthier hearts, and years of independence that statistics in other countries can only envy. A narrow woodland path winds through the morning mist, footsteps muffled by fallen leaves. In Japan, the day often begins not with noise or urgency, but with a quiet reset. Forest immersion, known as Shinrin-yoku, offers a kind of medicine that cannot be bottled. Even a brief walk among trees can lower blood pressure and bring down cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. Studies of Japanese workers show that time in green spaces reduces markers of inflammation, with the effect lasting for days. The air is cool, the light soft, and the mind settles. This is not exercise, but presence. Back at home, a kettle whistles gently. Green tea is poured into a small cup, steam rising in the early light. The act itself is a pause, a moment to notice the warmth in the hands, the scent of leaves, the first sip. Green tea, rich in catechins and antioxidants, is far more than a beverage here. It is a daily ritual, practiced by elders across Japan and linked to lower risk of heart disease and some cancers. But the science tells only part of the story. The ritual slows the morning, invites calm, and signals the body to begin the day with intention. Before breakfast, many Japanese elders reach for a glass of water. Gentle hydration after sleep helps restore balance, especially in a climate where summers are humid and winters can be dry. Some follow with a slow stretch or light movement, a few minutes of bending, reaching, or simply standing tall near an open window. The effect is subtle but real. Gentle movement in the morning helps regulate blood sugar, supports circulation, and aligns the body's internal clock with the rising sun. Researchers studying circadian rhythms find that routines anchored to daylight can improve sleep quality and hormonal balance, setting the stage for resilience throughout the day. A morning routine like this supports long-term health. Gratitude often finds a place in these early hours. A silent bow to the garden, a nod to the ancestors, or a simple acknowledgement of another sunrise. This mindset, woven quietly into daily life, is not about grand declarations, but about noticing what is already present. The stress of modern life is not absent in Japan, but these small habits, forest walks, mindful tea, gentle movement, and moments of thanks create a buffer. They cost nothing, require little time, and yet, over decades, they shape biology in ways that science is only beginning to understand. By the time breakfast arrives, the body and mind are already prepared for the day ahead, anchored by habits that have supported generations of long-lived Japanese. A wooden door slides open to reveal a sunlit room, where neighbors gather in a loose circle, shoes lined neatly by the entrance. At the center sits Mrs. Takamine, the unofficial keeper of her Okinawan MOI, a friendship group that has met for decades through typhoons, weddings, and the slow passing of years. She pours tea with steady hands, her laughter easy, her gaze attentive as the conversation drifts from grandchildren to the shared harvest. Here, support is not a formal duty, but a quiet promise. Someone will always be there, whether for a hospital visit, a lost job, or a birthday. The origins of moai stretch back hundreds of years, to farming villages where neighbors pooled resources to survive lean seasons. Today, the custom lives on as a lifeline against loneliness, a source of both practical and emotional security that often lasts a lifetime. purpose too finds its place in daily life. For Mrs. Takamine, tending the community garden and caring for her moai give each morning shape and meaning, a lived example of ikigai, the Japanese idea of a reason to get up each day. This sense of purpose is not measured in grand achievements, but in the rhythm of ordinary routines, sweeping a path, sharing a story, preparing a meal for a friend. Across Japan, elders describe ikigai in simple terms: a hobby, a role in the family, a commitment to others that quietly anchors their days. In these rooms and gardens, the invisible threads of connection and purpose form a safety net, one that science now recognizes as essential to a long and healthy life. In 1975, a team of researchers led by Dr. Makoto Suzuki began the Okinawa Centenarian Study, a project that would quietly reshape the world's understanding of healthy aging. Over 5 decades, the study documented the lives of more than 1,000 centenarians, tracking not just how long they lived, but how well. The evidence was clear. About 1 in 3 Okinawan centenarians remained fully independent, even past their 100th birthday, a proportion rarely matched in any other country. The findings challenged the idea that extreme old age must come with frailty or decline. The research went further, examining what set these elders apart. Genetics played a role, but not the starring one once imagined. Scientists identified a gene called FOXO3A, which, when present in just one copy, can triple a person's odds of reaching 100. Yet the gene alone did not explain Japan's nationwide longevity. The frequency of FOXO3A among Okinawans is only slightly higher than elsewhere. What made the difference was how daily habits, diet, movement, and social ties seemed to amplify the gene's protective effects. The study's decades of data point to a powerful conclusion. Lifestyle, not just DNA, drives Japan's longevity advantage. Preventive habits such as eating modestly, walking daily, and staying connected carry measurable benefits that ripple through generations. The Okinawa Centenarian Study stands as the longest-running evidence base of its kind, confirming that the secret to living well for a century is not locked in rare genes, but in ordinary routines repeated over a lifetime. In a world where healthcare costs soar and stress climbs, small daily choices quietly tip the scales. Japan's simple habits, proven by decades of research, show that longevity is not a luxury, but a practice. As chronic diseases rise globally, the real question becomes, will we invest in what truly sustains us? Sometimes the cheapest habits carry the highest return. What change will you make tomorrow? Share your thoughts below.